Billy, it's been ages, my friend. But really, it's been what, like 10 days since we jumped on here?
Yeah, we only missed what, 3 days or whatever. Yeah, so 10.
Yeah, 3 days. And the week before was Monday instead. But
Oh, yeah.
anyways, awesome. Excited to jump on here, man. Excited that we got this in this week, even if it's Friday. Talking about focus, tips for focus for athletes. As we know,
Focus Friday. Here we go.
I love it. I love it. Focus Friday, man. So where do we begin? Where do we want to start with focus?
I mean, we can talk about how important focus is. We already established that, how important it is to be focused and have good intention behind, everything you do, especially your training and your workouts. I think with focus, the main thing is just, for me, is to try to be present with what I'm doing. So whatever I'm doing, I try to just simply focus on that. So if I'm reading a book, clear my mind. I'm not thinking about anything else but reading that book. If I'm doing my training, I put my phone away, put all distractions aside, and just focus on that training aspect.
Certainly, that's a large encompassing area to talk about for sure. With focus is just narrowing down on one specific thing. So, in relation to that, in relation to sports, right? I want athletes to understand that when a coach or a parent or a teammate says focus, you're always focused on something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's never not focused. Your focus just might be in the wrong areas, or it might be on multiple things at once.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what you're talking about then is actually deliberate, specific focus on one specific task. So in relation to sports, the big question then is, what do we focus on?
That's a great question. So with focus, I like to talk about intent, which is basically, your focal point. So the intent behind your focus, why do I want to focus? Like, why do I want to focus on this workout, for example?
Sure.
If I'm doing an upper body workout, what is my focus going to be? It's to strengthen my upper body, maybe to gain some flexibility, but you're doing it so that you can perform better on the field eventually. So I'm not just focused, on each rep, each exercise. My focus is actually, okay, each rep, how is this going to help me, when I get on the diamond? How is this going to help me when I go out there and actually compete? How is this going to help me, how's it going to help me overcome and take down my opponent and, win that game?
Exactly. And I think where you're going with this, correct me if I'm wrong, is maybe sometimes athletes get caught in the trap of they don't chunk it down like you just talked about. Right? You just chunked it down in a sense of a progression almost of what you're focusing on right now is ultimately for something else, but in this present moment, you're focusing on that specific thing. And you gave the example of, like an upper body workout.
Exactly. So our focus needs to be right here, but we need to be, everything we do has to have a purpose behind it.
100%.
Purpose is huge in life. Purpose is one of the most important things. Once you find your purpose, then you know each day what you're striving for. You can have purpose behind every single thing that you do. Don't stress about it. Like, not everything has to be like, oh, I need to be focused and have this purpose right now. But especially when it comes to training, when it comes to baseball or sports, athletics specifically, it's great to have that purpose behind it. Why am I going for a run? Why am I running poles? Although I don't really believe in running poles, for
Certainly not.
players.
Yeah.
Why am I running these sprints? I'm doing it to get more explosive, more power. I'm not just running them to get tired or to get sweaty. That doesn't really accomplish. It accomplishes something, but our body wants to strive for something, especially our mind. So if we can have purpose behind, each sprint, I'm doing this one for pure explosiveness, so I can explode off the mound, so I can gain more velocity. I think our workouts will have a lot greater impact on us if we have purpose behind our focus.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love that, in a sense that purpose is actually narrowing in on your decision-making process. So if you know what your purpose is, then every single thing, like you said, has an intent, but it's a decision-making process for you, right? Because you and I and whoever's listening and whoever's watching this gets to control what they focus on, right? And you as an instructor, just a little side note, do you think athletes want to focus, right? They have the intent to focus. They might not know what the heck to focus on though.
Right. Right. I think usually with a lot of people, myself included, my focus kind of jumps around when I'm not present with it or when I'm not aware of it. So if I'm not aware of my focus, I'm thinking about what I'm going to cook for dinner. The interaction I had with with one of my family members. I need to call that guy back. I need to send an email. If my focus is jumping around, it's tough to have a purpose behind it because your brain doesn't really have a concrete idea of what it wants to do. So like you said, with training, for example, our focus can, just be on every single rep is to, just concentrate and focus on that rep, on that exercise. And then it's going to help us, for a greater good eventually.
But think about it on the opposite side of the equation too, right? If you're focusing on, if you have a purpose, which I think is incredibly important, what you're talking about, if you have a purpose, it can help you on the opposite side of that decision-making process, which we're talking about focus, right? So you have a purpose of, let's go back to that workout example of, I want to develop my upper body, and then your ultimate purpose is to get better on the field, right? Your decision-making process is so simple then. So going into that workout, if you have conflicting thoughts, like you just said, if you have conflicting thoughts that pop up, then it's really like a binary decision, right? Is this what I'm focusing on leading me towards my purpose or not? It's a simple yes or no.
Exactly. Is it going to help me obtain my goal?
Exactly. So then
focus on.
Exactly. The decision-making process becomes so simple. The focus becomes so simple.
Exactly. Right. So if I have, like in a workout, and somebody texts me, am I going to look at my phone and send that text back? Is that going to help me with my goal right now? Probably not. But I can wait till after. That's fine. But, is it going to help me to maintain my breathing, stay present, put a purpose behind every single rep? That's going to help me ultimately to reach my goal. So like you said, yeah, it makes your decisions a lot easier, and you can do it a lot quicker, because a lot of people struggle with making decisions, myself included.
I have a couple of notes I have written down here for today, but we got a couple of comments first. Tevin, my friend, thanks for jumping on. Quick, the memory guy.
Hey.
Gives great tips: avoiding your phone first hour of the day, watching your phone, train your brain to get distracted. 100%. Alpha, beta phase. Yeah, Jim Quick, Limitless. Limitless is the book. He's worked with Will Smith. He's worked with high-profile people on training their brain. And focus is like one of his circles, like one of his main 3 categories, or it's in one of his main categories for sure. So Tevin, another tip is avoiding multitasking. Isn't it so unbelievable? If we think about our brains, the way they were developed for the past 1,000 years, right? We get more data in one day. Than someone got in their entire lifetime in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we have to retrain this primal brain to focus on one thing, when in the past they were bored out of their mind trying to find one thing to focus on. You know what I mean?
Yes. But with that boredom comes great creativity. It's hard to be creative when you're not focused, when you're unfocused, or when you're multitasking, like Tevin said. I think it's hard to be creative and let the creative juices flow, when you're thinking about a million different things. And like you said, our primal instinct is to get food, to have shelter and safety, and to reproduce. Those are 3 things that to focus on, in our basic instincts. And that made it so simple. But now we have millions of things that we could potentially be thinking about and focusing on, whereas our brains probably weren't developed to do that, because when it goes back to our ancestors, they only were concerned with a few things about, staying alive and ultimately, reproducing the human race.
Yeah, it's like we could go into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the basic survival needs, right? we don't have we're not faced with 99% of us aren't faced with life or death situations on a day-to-day basis, right? We're not faced with what we're going to eat. We're not faced with the shelter problem, but we are faced with 6,000 notifications coming up on our phone a day.
Mm-hmm. And to think about the kids and, youth athletes, especially, to have all that on their plate is tough because their brains aren't even fully developed. And for them to have to think about a million things, that's why mental health is, on the decline, especially for our youth. There's too many things to think about, too many things to worry about, your image, how you look on social media, how you look in person, how you look to your friends. It's just too much for a developing brain. It's too much for anyone, even for an adult who is developed.
Yeah, man, I don't want to go too far off.
Yeah,
but I love the you put up a story today. You shared it from someone else about quarantining and mental health. It's so true, man. It's unbelievable. So go check out Billy's story on Facebook, I believe.
Yeah, that's a
and Instagram. It was on Instagram, I believe.
On Insta, yeah.
Yeah. So tips for focus. Okay, so number one, know what to focus on. So some basic tips for athletes, and then you obviously give your 2 cents here. Some basic tips for athletes, what to focus on. I go back to the time when I was coaching baseball, and I would ask kids from the age of 8 years old all the way to juniors and seniors in high school. And you would say, coaching baseball, right? What's the main thing? What is the main thing behind this sport that we should be focusing on? And you would get like dumbfound faces like, and it's like they have no clue. The main thing is the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep the main thing the main thing. So even as a hitter, right? If your number one focus isn't the ball, then your chances of succeeding, it doesn't matter how good your mechanics are going to go down. Mm-hmm. So what do you focus on? And it's sports specific, obviously. It's dependent on the sport. You can go into the game. You can go into a baseball game with, the most confidence in the world. But if you're focused on something else other than the ball, your chances go right down the drain.
Right.
So know what to focus on. And I don't know what your thoughts are on, just simply knowing what to focus on. But there's a way to simplify what you need to focus on. But I don't remember any of my little league coaches or any of my high school coaches saying, what's the one thing we need to focus on? What is the main thing we need to focus on? They told me what not to focus on. Mm-hmm. So, athletes have to know what to focus on and what not to focus on.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of, having a positive direction. So like what to focus on instead of what not to focus on. Because when you tell your brain not to do something, it's still thinking about that thing. If I tell you about a purple gorilla, you just thought about it, right?
Yeah. So brain thinks in images, so that's what it brings up. Yeah.
Exactly. So we can give a positive direction on what to focus on. It's going to make it a lot simpler for our athletes. And it comes back to simplicity. Like we said, our basic instincts are simple. Same thing with sports. We can just keep it simple. Like you said, baseball, focus on the ball. You're playing basketball, focus on, if you're on defense, either focus on the ball or focus on who you're guarding. You're playing football, same thing. We're going to focus on one specific thing, your duty, your task. What's going to help? What can you do to help the team succeed? And that's your simple focus right there.
Yeah, and in every sport, you can go into the specifics, right? And, we can talk about, okay, you can't just focus on the ball and not focus on anything else. Well, no, you can't, right? But that's the main thing. That has to be your main focus. So a couple of other points I wanted to bring on before we run out of time here is focus on the controllables. How many times, I've fallen in the trap, you've fallen in the trap. We worry about things, we focus on things that are simply out of our control.
Exactly. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. So for example, if we're looking at baseball, as a pitcher, what can you control? You can control your breath. You can control your focus on the glove, and you can control your release of the pitch. And that's about it. Once that ball leaves your hand,
Yes.
Everything else is out of your control. You know, the batter, if you throw a good pitch, the batter might still hit it. You throw a good pitch, the umpire might call it a ball. You throw a good pitch, your catcher might drop it.
Yeah.
You know, like once the ball leaves your hand, it's out of your control, which also comes back to keeping good composure as well. You know, even if you could be getting hit around and you could be throwing your best pitches of the season and still get hit around. So what we can control, we keep it simple. It always comes back to our breath. We can always control our breath, and we can always control our next action, which is the release of the pitch as a pitcher, as a hitter. You know, it's seeing the ball and trying to hit the ball. And that's what we can control. We hit the ball hard, it gets caught. Oh, well, you know, I did my job. I hit the ball hard. So I think that's a great point, is controlling what you can control.
You took my third point here. Breath. How incredibly important is breath?
So underrated.
Incredibly underrated. Incredibly underrated. You know, I've been big on the Wim Hof method. I don't know if you're familiar with the Wim Hof method. He's known as the Iceman. So he's long story short, he's the guy with all these world records for cold exposure, you know, controlling his breathing.
Okay.
And taking control of his nervous system and his sensations in his body and things like that. I'm not saying that we have to go that far. And he's climbed like Everest and all of these mountains in like shorts and a t-shirt in like record amount of time. So the guy is like has unbelievable control of his mind and his body, but it's 100% through his breath.
And that's amazing. You know, that really does. That's the kind of things that interest me. You'll have to send me that.
For sure.
That's really interesting. But that just goes to show you how important your breath is. You know, when you're on the diamond, for example, you know, luckily you don't have to climb Everest in shorts. When you're on the diamond, your breath is all about staying grounded and focusing on the present moment, which is the next pitch. Whether you're a pitcher, hitter, fielder, umpire, coach, your action is always the next pitch. And that can be controlled through your breathing and staying in this moment. You know, trying not to it's difficult, you know, not to let your mind wander, but it can be accomplished by staying here, staying grounded in every single breath.
Certainly. So here's something I wanted to give, something that athletes could take away and use right now, something tangible and for focus, right? And specifically, I mean, we could do like 10 episodes on breath. Right? You and I both agree that it's really, really underrated. And it sometimes sounds too simple, you know, just breathe, right? Maybe that's an oversimplification, but it's really the doorway between your body and your mind, right? Because if you're focused on the wrong things, what happens to your body, right? If you're focused on what could go wrong, if you're focused on my coach might not play me next game, if you're focused on what your teammates are going to say, there's a physical reaction, right? Your heart starts to race, your hands get a little sweaty, maybe you start to feel a little bit nervous, maybe you sweat a little bit more. But the breath can bring you back to equilibrium, where you need to be. And a really powerful word that you said multiple times there was present. So how can athletes come back to the present moment is just simply, see, I'll say what Wim says. He keeps it so simple when people are getting away from their breath. He just says, breathe, motherfucker. I don't know if that's the right verbiage for helping youth athletes.
Maybe not if you're coaching Little League.
Maybe if you're not coaching Little League. But some cue, something to just remind yourself to come back to your breath. You know, there's a perfect example of Evan Longoria, right, who was a big league third baseman for a long time, right? Every time he stepped out of the box, he looked down at the foul pole, at the top of the foul pole, because there's a foul pole in every stadium. And he just took an inhale in his chest and in his diaphragm and just exhaled. So what do you think about having like something to look at that just reminds you of your breath?
That's a great idea. You could have, you know, a vantage point, something to look at. I like to use cue words with myself and my athletes.
Yeah.
Like you said, breathe, motherfucker is a cue phrase. You know, there's our cue words. I like to use the cue phrase of just be here.
Love it.
Be here now. So I inhale, hold it for a second. And then when I exhale, I just say in my head, be here now. And then you find yourself just thinking about what you need to do next instead of what happened or what could happen. So to keep it simple, yeah, I would say find a simple phrase that works for you. And it could just be here, or just here, or be present, or breathe mofo, whatever you want,
Yeah, of course.
It's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah. So we're going into anchors then, anchoring some sort of thought, anchoring some sort of feeling, right? It's almost the same way, right? If you listen to a song, if you listen to a particular song that brings up a memory of the past, right? That's the same way you want that cue word. That's the same way you want that visual for that foul pole. That's the same thing. You want to bring up that memory of, okay, I need to breathe now. That's the anchor. That's what you're trying to anchor to, is let's come back to the present.
Right. So that means you have to do it in practice.
Yes.
Before doing it in the game.
100%.
Expect to go to the game and be like, all right, my cue phrase is be here. All right, be here. And your mind's just like, what the fuck? If you do it in practice, though, anything else, the more you practice being present and focusing, the better your brain gets at it. And that's why people meditate, is to improve their focus and improve their presence. So I would say each rep, each throw, each swing, maybe not every swing, but every few swings, take a breath, exhale, and use your cue phrase in your head. Take your time. Baseball, especially, is a game that you can really take your time and be patient and use that time to take a breath and clear your mind, and maybe use that cue phrase to keep you grounded.
Of course. We got another comment here from, this is a healthy one right here. Andrew Huberman tells to focus on one task at a time, accomplishing before moving to the next step, taking time to reflect on what has been accomplished and appreciate how it will help achieve a bigger goal. He says that is important, missed by most people. So build the habit of focus. Tevin, that's a healthy comment, man. That's a lot to digest. That's a lot to definitely take in. Definitely have to look into Huberman, taking one task at a time. That's like the saying of, like, how do you eat a whale? You know what I mean? Or what is the what's the Marine one? How do you finish a 1,000-mile race? One step at a time, something like that. Something like that.
1% better every day.
1% better every day, for sure. Taking it step by step, of course. So, Billy, as always, fun jumping on here, man. Anything else you want to leave everybody with?
I'd say, after listening to this, to go out and actually to try to improve your focus. Try to maybe get a cue phrase. Some people write it on their gloves, on their hat. Just something really simple that's going to help you remember to breathe and to stay present and focus on the task at hand. So you actually have to go out and try it. Not listening to us isn't really going to help you unless you're proactive in trying it and practicing it on your own, which anyone can do. I believe in you. And it's difficult at first, but stay motivated and stay confident that you will get better at it.
Of course. I love the practical tip to take it and go use it. So try to anchor something, like he said. So absolutely, man. Appreciate you jumping on, changing our day today. Next week, Tuesday, right?
Next Tuesday, yeah. Focus Friday is over and look towards Tuesday. Here we go.
12:34 Eastern time. See you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Sam.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please smash that subscribe button down below and leave your questions in the comment section, because that's the inspiration behind these videos, to help serve you guys specifically with what you're struggling with. And if you'd like to take things a step further, check the links in the description below. If you're interested in our coaching, if you're interested in checking me out on other platforms and connecting with me there, if you're interested in some of our other free training, definitely check it out in the description below. And I will see you guys on the next video.